Everyone, hope you're well. I'm going to complete the setup here, so hang on just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. We're live on Facebook, and there she blows. Okay, so I'm going to promote you. Give me a second to do that. If you don't mind, please, that'd be great. Let's see. Kai, good to see you, buddy. Chris, good to see you. Great talk today. Let me make sure to get that complete. Mark Douglas, good to see you, buddy, from the Big Island. Let's see, Michael O'Keefe. Great call the other day too, actually. That was a lot of fun. Michael Usery, good to see you, buddy. Good call the other day. Charlie, good to see you. Ursula, good to see you. Vince, good to see you, buddy. Good talk the other day. Let's see. Looks like there's a couple that are on the phone, so let me get you guys squared away. All right, and we do have a guest tonight. Dan Levy will be tapping in here. Oops, let me send him a text real quick. Hang on 1 second. Let's see, Dan Levy. There we go. Let's see, just sent link via email. Okay, so Dan should be hopping on any moment now, and I'll wait till he gets on before I. Oh, there he is right there. Hey, Dan, good to see you, buddy. Jasmine, good to see you. Christine, all right, just in the nick of time. Good to see you, Christine. So we got a couple of Californians on, several Floridians, some Tennesseans.
Hey, Gary.
Hey there. How you doing, Jasmine? Hey, Jasmine, were your ears ringing earlier?
Maybe.
We're talking about the NAEA getting on and the links and everything. And I know Bonetta was, I think, going through the same challenge I think you were having, but looks like you figured that one out though.
Oh yeah, Gina helped me a lot, and we got in, so I'm good to go.
Okay, excellent. Let's see here. I know I just saw Dan.
Yep, how you doing?
There you are. Hey, buddy. And I think that is it for now. They'll probably get some more here. So in any case, guys, just briefly, if we have time, we'll still do some role playing later on, objection handling when it comes to getting the investors to list their properties. And I will give you a hint. Current events is our best friend right now. I mean, if you look at what's happening in the world, especially anything that has to do with economics or anything that affects economics, it's a great launching pad or objection handler material when we're working with investors. Like, for example, we know we're at or near the top of this market. Clearly, we know inflation is real, and we know mortgage rates just jumped. It was just announced last week. We also know that Congress would like to raise capital gains from 15 to 39%, and they'd like to eliminate 1031 exchange over $500,000. So those are some critical things that actually have a direct effect on investors. And so whenever an investor says, well, I think I'll wait and see, you've got a whole litany of material you can use from the news, from current events. But in any case, before we go there, we'll see what kind of time we have left. I want to bring on Dan. Dan Levy was in the very first class I ever taught. Very first class. Goes back about 60 years, Dan, something like that.
It goes far back.
I guess it was probably 6 and a half years, perhaps. I mean, in a formal professional way. I've taught classes before that, going back to 2002. But in any case, so Dan's been all the way through the ranks, all the way from beginning, all the way up through mastermind level, and now as a partner on the team. And you probably haven't seen him a whole lot because he's been pretty busy. And I'll let Dan introduce himself for a minute and talk about all the things he's in, because he's not just in real estate, okay? And he's doing quite well in real estate. In fact, there's a closing schedule. Is that tomorrow, Dan? Scheduled for tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow at 3.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that. It's the deal I mentioned to you guys a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, in fact. And we're going to give you a briefing on what we're developing. So Dan and I are getting together tomorrow night to map out a process that we'll talk about in the call tonight. I've already got the preliminary stuff already done. That's what I did yesterday when we had 4 hours of thunderstorms. So I got it all pretty well figured out in my head, and I got it on paper. So in any case, hey, Dan, if you could, it's 5 after, we're gonna go ahead and start here. If you wouldn't mind, give people a little bit of a background so they have some context, and everybody just relax. This is definitely an at ease night, because Dan's one of us, and I don't know that we have any guests on. If we do, welcome aboard. But everybody just relax and be ready to take some notes. So Dan, go ahead and, oh, hey, Greg Cummings is on. He's also a 757. By the way, 757 is the area code for Tidewater, Virginia. So that's when you hear somebody say I'm from the 757, that's what that's what they mean. But hey, Dan, if you wouldn't mind, give us a quick background, Navy, and then the other businesses you're in, and then we can talk about real estate, and then narrow in on the project over and get,
Okay. Yeah. So hello, everybody. So basically, just a quick background check on me. I've been in real estate now for about 6-7 years. I'm also and have been a respiratory therapist for 25. So I still do that occasionally, but right now I'm focusing more on the real estate, and I have a commercial cleaning business as well that I have been operating in 2 states. So I am keeping myself pretty busy. I'm excited about the real estate and the timing of everything going on right now, because Gary and I are coming up with some other options to help alleviate the pains of renting. I have been able to dodge the bullet for a while, but I've actually have a tenant now that hasn't paid for 3 months. So I'm kind of learning how the process is for that, and how to get out of that situation. I have several rental properties at this time. I've done some flips. I started with Keller Williams probably 5-6 years ago and got on a REO team. I joined real estate not necessarily for a career, but I joined to get the investing side of things and making contacts and networking. So long story short, this deal that I actually picked up from a RIA member in the Tidewater area, it was a for sale home or owner financing. So basically I had talked to the guy. I know the property area is very nice. These are big houses, 100 years old, kind of homes, 4,500 square feet, 6 bedrooms, etc. Like I said, Gary and I will talk a little bit about that later. We have plans for that. But I bought it as a subject to, and I don't know what everybody's background is as far as subject to wraparound mortgages and owner financing, but that's a great alternative. Lower down payments. You don't use the banks. There's no credit checks. It's just an agreement between the seller and the buyer and the attorney, and that's it. We're actually putting it into a land trust as well. So these are kind of some buzzwords that I'm working with. So I don't know what the group's experience is on that stuff, but that's kind of like where I am. If you have any questions, Gary, or where you want to go from here with this particular deal.
Yeah, well, so let's I'll go ahead and I'll give a little more insight here. So where Dan is buying, it's in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and Norfolk is part of what's called Hampton Roads, or against the 757. And some people call it the 7 Cities, some people call it Tidewater. I call it Tidewater. Okay, I used to live here too, and in fact, I'm going to be probably getting another place here, and hopefully the next year. But in any case, Ghent is a neighborhood in Norfolk. It's one of those very attractive sort of yuppie communities, what we used to call yuppie communities. But I mean, lots of families live there too. It's just a great neighborhood, close to work, close to the water. There's water everywhere down here. But more importantly, it's close enough to Old Dominion University, which is a big school now. I don't know what the student body is, but it's pretty big. It's a major player in the state of Virginia. And you've also got Norfolk Naval Base, one of the largest in the world, I think the largest in the world. And you've got Norfolk Centera Hospital, which is the regional hospital for the area. And the area includes Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, Portsmouth, Newport News, and Hampton, and some other outlying areas. So it's a very stable area economically because military plays a large role here. And they may shut down a base here and there over the years, but they are not shutting down Norfolk Naval Base, I can tell you that. And they're definitely not going to shut down Langley Air Force Base either, which is right across the river. So agriculture is big here, fishing is big here, and as you might imagine, tourism is very big here, as well as some higher education and some medical. So they've got at least 3 major industries, which, you know, if you listen to me, that's one of my requirements for wherever I invest. I want to see 3 industries that are relatively stable. Okay, this one has 5 or 6 or 7. In any case, so again, that's the area. Now, the property itself, Dan, what is it? 6 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms?
It's a 6 bedroom, 4.5, 3-story, with a Victorian style home with a basement as well.
Okay. All right. Now, what was the reason why you were looking for something with so many bedrooms and bathrooms?
Right. I'm working on a project. I'm kind of looking at a lot of other investors right now with the moratoriums and everything going on with rents and the instability of everything. I'm looking more into like a corporate housing, you know, not quite an Airbnb, but a corporate housing scenario. And I have some things that I'm developing, and Gary and I are actually going to be working on that as well. I don't want to let everything out of the bag at this point because it's something I think we can all benefit from. But that was one of the key things I wanted to do, was to find a big house with many bathrooms and many bedrooms and kind of repurpose it, not as a rental, but more as a corporate housing, short-term lease kind of scenarios. Yeah.
And then and probably one of the big employers is right down the road, which is Norfolk Centera.
Right.
Major hospital.
Norfolk Centera, we have shipbuilding, we have all kinds of different things around that area. A lot of transient military, things like this as well. So it's pretty good location for that kind of thing. Did we want to get into the specifics of of putting it together, or what?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a second. So what I want to do, guys, is the reason we're interested in this market segment is, I'm sure you noticed the prices of properties have gone up dramatically in the last couple of years, and they seems like they keep going up. However, while rents have been on the increase too, traditional rents, regular rentals, renting to a family or a couple or a single over a period of a year, 1-year term, we could call that traditional rentals. Traditional rents, while they've gone up statistically or on a percentage basis, have not kept pace with the rise in values. So would you guys agree that's probably pretty much true wherever we are? It could be, you know, Harrisburg, PA, could be Hampton, Virginia, could be anywhere. So investors are feeling the pinch, especially considering there's been a moratorium at the national level all across the country since the virus kicked in, okay? Moratorium on evictions. Now, most people I know have been okay. They haven't skipped a beat, but like Dan said, he's now got one. Is it three months, Dan? 3 months behind?
Yeah, September will be 3 months. Yep.
Yep. So there are instances out there where certain landlords have definitely struggled because of the moratorium on evictions. Well, that has to do with traditional rentals. When it comes to alternate exit strategies like Airbnb, those moratoriums don't apply. Airbnb is typically 7 to 30 days. That's the typical range of Airbnb. There's another type of rental we used to call corporate housing. Corporate housing was where, you know, Old Dominion University, Centera, you know, General Hospital, any place like that in the country, military bases that bring in temporary contract work, like something that's 6 months long. We used to call that corporate housing. So a contractor would come in, could be an engineer, could be an architect, could be a nurse, could be a teacher. I've seen teachers do these. Almost every industry has some form of the workforce that what the IRS calls mobile worker. They get mobile worker status. Okay, I'm one of them. I claimed it as an independent contractor, and I still do. So what I'm getting at here is those are typically greater than 30 days or greater in less than 1 year. The average, most between 3 and 6 months. Well, there's no company until Dan and I will create it tomorrow night that's actually cornered that market. Nobody's commercialized it like Airbnb did to the bed and breakfast business, okay? And they, of course, took advantage of people's homes that had bedrooms left over or homes that people were living in all the time. And now, as you know it, it's a major sector in the industry, and they just went public a few months ago with their stock. So there are other companies that cater to different segments. For example, there's a company that I met the ownership of a while back, and they do something similar, but it's a different demographic. It's basically younger or single people that are breaking into the working force and can't afford their own rental, their own house or an apartment, so they rent rooms, okay? And they're typically, again, less than a year duration. So that's one particular market that we're not going after. We're going after the professional sector, and basically like traveling nurses and people who have professional positions in their industries and need housing like that. And they don't want to stay in hotels. I'm telling you, they're tired of them, and I am too. And they don't want to be responsible for an entire house or an apartment. They want to come and go as they please, have access to the kitchen, but be somewhere where there's a yard, transportation, things like that. So in any case, Norfolk Centera, as you might imagine, has traveling nurses. And Dan, having a background in that and relative to that field, has some knowledge there. So we don't have all the particulars, all the specific nitty-gritty details worked out. But the reason I'm telling you this, the reason Dan and I are telling you this is we are going to develop it, okay? It's something we've been wanting to do for several months now, and we now have the model. And what we're doing is developing it, beta testing it with one of Dan's own properties, all right? And then we're going to roll it out to all of you. So all of you will be able to do this, particularly if you have property management, okay? This is a huge deal, all right? So it's one thing to manage one property on your own, like it's your own property, for example. But if you're looking to break into that property management business, and I know there's at least 4 of you on the call here that have expressed a strong interest in that, that's coming soon, as early as October. So the person we're bringing on, we now have a formal agreement, but he's got to get his new office lease. He has a lease on an office space starting September 15th. So he's committed. He's got that commitment. He has a 12-person team, and he has property management with nearly 300 units. I actually trained him myself. I trained him before I even had a training program of any sort. And he's going to be a global investor agent with his team. So in any case, he's the person we're using to help roll out property management across the country. So if you have any interest in that, the time is very near, all right? But back to this, if you think about this, in this scenario, you've got a couple of parties. So just imagine you've got the owner of the property, the investor, okay? You've got the tenant, who's the professional or business owner, needs the place for say 3 to 6 months, all right? And if you're going to make a business out of this like Airbnb, then you need property management, either internal or external. Okay, we're going to provide it internally. And then the other person is you, the investor agent. You're going to help the investor find the property, okay? And you may make a referral to property manager. Unless you have your own, then you can say we can manage that too. But basically, you're looking at like a circle with a plus sign. There's 4 entry points, 4 portals into this model. And collectively, anybody that wants to participate is in the middle. So in any case, so the reason I wanted to bring this up is we discussed this 2 weeks ago, but we didn't get into all the particulars about what Dan and I are doing. I just want to let you guys know here and now, you're hearing it first. And if you could please keep it to yourselves for the moment. Everybody's going to win in this deal. It's something we're rolling out, and we're going to make it available to all the agents in all the states. Now, is there any questions on what the model is and the target audience and why we're doing this? Anybody have any questions or comments, objections, insight, help? Anybody want to roll up their sleeves and volunteer and help? How about if the pay's good? How about if I write you a check for $1 million? Would you do it then?
I have a question, Gary. So, Gary,
Yes, sir.
Be up here. So this property management team that you're bringing on, would they be handling the entire US for us, or do we still get to invite others in the future to be our property manager?
You're going to have your own. You're going to own your own property management business. Now you're going to be the owner. Remember, you have a license at EXP, and you have to have one license there. So I want to go into too many details there. We'll do that more like October, but just, big picture is, anybody can own a property management company. You don't even have to be a licensee. Anybody can own a real estate brokerage company, which is what a property management company is. You just have to have a broker of record for you, okay? So think about the Keller Williams Market Center model. You've got an OP, the owner. You've got a team leader, basically CEO manager, right? You've got an MCA, accounting and bookkeeping. You've got a receptionist. That's the core structure. Then you got the agent base and all that. So property management for years has actually followed the same model. You got the owner, we just call them owner. You've got what's called a broker of record. Sometimes broker of record is a name only. It's just a formality. In most cases, it is, in fact. It's a way to separate liability and things like that. Then you've got a manager and a bunch of other people, but it's the same structure. So when people tell me, I can't do property management because my broker won't let me, what they mean is you can't play a licensee role in your property management company, and you're not going to. Even if you play a role, it'll be an ownership or management role on a salary or a fee basis, not a commission basis, okay? So this is how we do this. I know people in EXP that are designated brokers for their states, and they also own a property management business on the side. So PF, you're gonna have your own, or we're gonna provide the model for you to replicate, and Dustin's gonna help me roll it out, manage it, teach it, control it, all that kind of stuff. Make sense? Okay, he's
Yep, fantastic.
Fantastic, yeah. So what Dan and I are doing, we're gonna develop this, and we have to, figure out all the details, but the same thing is, this is something that we can all participate in. Like, for example, Dan's going to own his own properties, and I likely will too with Dan, at least in this area. But also, you can own your own properties, okay? And use the same model. There's just like anything, there's going to be a royalty. We're probably not going to do a franchise model, but more of a EXP type model with this, okay? So there's incentive for you to participate and grow your own business, right? So just like anything else, the early bird gets the worm. So think about Glenn Sanford created EXP. Would you say he's doing pretty good right now? And how about the first 100 people he brought in? How about those guys? They're all multi-millionaires, okay? And so are a couple thousand other people. So in any case, more to come on that structure. Right now, we're developing it. And once it's developed and beta tested and piloted, we're going to roll it out, probably one region at a time, or maybe we'll take the first 10 people and then people after that. We have to determine all that. But I just want to let you guys know that the reason this is important is, even in its rawest form, you now have another exit strategy to use when you're working with your clients. Does that make sense? In other words, your clients might give you an objection. I don't know if I want to buy a rental. Prices are going up so high. How can I make money on that? And you can say, we've got this great exit strategy that we developed in-house. Dan Levy developed it. And it's available for you to use. And you guys will get more sales out of it as a result, more commissions. So does that make sense, guys? Why this is important? So you can participate just simply by being an investor agent, or if you want to play a more active role, you'll talk to Dan and I, and we'll show you how to do that and get you set up, and we'll participate together. It's a partnership. That's why we call level 6 partnership level, and you will become a partner. So now, any other questions on that?
If I can just mention something real quick too, Gary. Yeah. Just to get an idea on what this does for the investor or the owner of the home, the current house that I have that they're not paying in, That's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. And I'm getting $1,700 a month for it in rent, or I was anyways. What this program does is it turns that $1,700 a month into $3,800 a month.
Yeah.
In the 6-bedroom, 4.5, the current rate for rent in there is $3,000, and I'm looking at turning that into $5,600 to $7,500 a month. So you're basically, you know, doubling, in some cases even more, the cash flows. So it's something that has a very good upside.
Yeah. In the old days, when I was in banking, we brought in contractors a lot. In fact, I was going to be one at one point, and I realized I had to leave my kids. I didn't do it. But the bottom line is they were paying at a minimum 50% higher rental rates than traditional 1-year leases. Minimum, right? In most cases, they were paying double or more. And they didn't care. Chances are their companies were paying for it. They just wanted to be able to walk in at night when they were done, go to sleep, and not have to worry about electric, gas, water, cutting grass, all that kind of stuff. So it's an amazing opportunity. And that market segment, by the way, as you might imagine, is growing dramatically. I mean, it's like the fastest growing market segments that's out there right now. So I learned enough from all my 58 years to, when something presents itself, to not wait and see. You want to be first in, okay? Yeah.
And also the mindset here is, when I go over the details of the deal, nobody's really quite doing this on the level that we're going to be doing it. So when you're buying these properties from investors, they're not thinking like this. So you have this in your back pocket as a weapon. And like when I show you when I talk about more of the numbers on this purchase, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's do this. Let's go ahead and talk about the structure of the transaction, because you heard Dan mention subject to and wraparound mortgage. So if you could, Dan, go ahead and talk about how you structure the deal, including the other peripheral investors, so everybody will understand the financial structure of this and how you're pulling it off, and you know, why it's such a powerful opportunity, you know.
All right. Well, I'll put it in a nutshell, and then if there's any questions, we can kind of go from there. So this particular house was appraised about 6 months ago at $536,000. The guy had it for over a year rehabbing it. You know, you got to be specific on these older homes and things like that, and it's in a historic district and all these things. And he put quite a bit of money into it, and he wanted to kind of sell it at $425,000. Now, you might ask, why is he going to try to sell it at $425 when its appraised value is at $536? Well, because he went ahead and had put a tenant in it. And what happened is that tenant's paying $3,000 a month. And the only person he's going to sell it to in this market is an investor, because nobody wants to buy a house and move into it in April. Okay, so he wants to move on to another deal. He's looking at multi-units, and he wants to take this money and put it into that deal. So he had to price it at $425, because if you price it any higher, you kind of come out of that zone of cash flow. So his mindset is thinking, okay, well, I'm selling it to a person who wants to make cash flow on a rental. My mindset is, that's great. Think that way, because my mindset is in the corporate leasing structure, which is significantly more. So he went ahead and agreed. We had the inspection and everything done. The deal was structured at $425,000 with a $50,000 down payment. And then he was gonna finance about $50,000. I'll tell you later. That's like the difference between all the numbers. I can break it down over 3 years with a 3-year balloon. And then, you know, the out or the exit would be to refi. Now, the $50,000 down, I have 2 investor friends that each wanted a piece of the action. So they went ahead and each put $20,000 in for 14 months at 12%. Okay. So in this entire deal, I'm coming in with $10,000. Okay. And we're putting it into a land trust to protect it. And I can get into that later. I wish the lawyer was here. She could tell you a whole lot more than what I can. Lawyers are very important. So ultimately what's going to happen is that $3,000 and the monthly payment comes out to where it's about a $700 cash flow. Okay. For that kind of money, you'd want a bigger cash flow, but he's not thinking that I'm going to be doing corporate housing. So once the lease is up in this particular house, I'm going to open it up to this program, and I'm looking to get $5,600 to $7,500 a month out of this deal. That's $45,000 to $65,000 of income out of one house. So that's the play that happened. I'm going to be closing on it tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Hopefully everything goes well. I have found a lender that will agree to refi. Let me back up. When you typically there's a lot of banks will refi you after a year. If you've had the property before a year, they're going to refinance based on 80% of the purchase price, not of the appraised value. So I'd have to wait after a year to get the appraised value and refi it. That's why the investors, I gave them 14 months. However, I found a lender that will do it in 6 months now and do it on an appraised value. So my exit strategy just got a lot quicker as far as putting it into a 30-year note. Everybody gets paid. It's in my business name, and everything's great. So I'll kind of back off now, Gary, if you wanted to add, or if anybody had anything to ask as well.
Yeah, a couple of things on the 12% interest, guys. It's actually fixed, simple. So what that means is it
Right.
doesn't amortize like a bank loan. It's literally, if you put in $100,000 and it's for a year, at the end of the year, you get $112,000 back. It's 12% on the principal over one term. Simple fixed interest rate.
Right, and one of them was fine with that at the end of the term to pay the principal with the interest. The other one wanted to get monthly interest payments, and
So
then
$1,000 a month or something like that.
Yeah, and then principal at the end. So no,
Okay.
actually they're getting I think it's like $168, $170 a month.
Oh, that's right. It's only $20,000. Okay.
Right. So it's like $178 a month. And then at the 14th month, then they will get the principal back. Now, I did give them a little incentive in that if it's financed at any point at 6 months or later, they're going to still make the 12%.
Good. Okay.
I want them to keep coming back.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, we had a couple of questions come in, so hang on one second.
All right.
First one, I'll go backwards. This is from Chris Latham out in Inland Empire. Sorry, I'm drawing it. So I'm getting old, guys. I can't think as fast as I used to, but let's see. Let me host and panelists. Okay. So Chris, Airbnb, the market there is considered short-term, not corporate. So to be typically, 7 to 30 days is what their range is, although they have Airbnbs that are 2 and 3 nights. But 7 to 30 days, what you're getting is a lot of destination travelers, which are vacationers, and some business travelers. So for Airbnb, what I teach people to do is try to do Airbnb in an area where you have both business travelers and it's a destination place like Orlando. Orlando has Disney World, Universal, and it's a business center too. I'm not saying you can't do Airbnb in Detroit. You can do Airbnb in Detroit, and they actually have it. I know because I stay there one of them. And there's places that just have Airbnb at the beach where there's no business travel. They all work, but what I'm getting at is you want to have as wide an audience as you possibly can, and if you have some diversity in the audience, and there's two different market segments, then you're in much better shape. So with the type of audience we're talking about, they're typically going to be 3 to 6 months on average. Okay, so Chris, does that help you distinguish between the two?
Yeah, and the other thing too is with the Airbnbs, those are like, they can be daily, they can be weekly. Your
Yep.
cost for going in there and cleaning is going to be more.
Yeah.
In corporate housing, you're going to have people stay there a minimum of 2 months, 3 on average. They're going to be taking care of their stuff themselves. When they move out, then a team comes in and cleans their area and does like a cleanup a little bit throughout the house. As the next person leaves, you just keep rotating it. So the expense to upkeep is going to be a lot less in corporate housing as well. And I just happen to have a cleaning company, so that kind of works out.
So let me ask a quick question with the corporate housing, because I do understand corporate housing. With this program that you guys putting together, so similar to Airbnb, you have provided links and etc. and furnish the home. So that expense is part of the cleaning.
You were a little bit choppy in the beginning. The whole question was, yes, we will have to furnish the place. That's for sure. So that is an expense that we will have. Yes.
You anticipate vacancy to be?
Well, that's a good question, and this is basically, it's many tiers of planning that we have to do as we put it together, as Gary and I put it together. At the current rate that everything's going, and this might sound a little crazy, but I don't see vacancy for this particular type of crowd that we're working as a big issue. I would allow, maybe 5 to 10% of a possible vacancy, but the vacancy periods are very short. So it's not like, you have to spend 30 days to find a prospect to come here. We already will have agreements in place that, hey, when this person leaves on the 12th, we got another person coming in on the 16th. So it's structured a little bit different than your typical mindset for renting and vacancy.
Yeah. So Michael, and there was another question from Sam Arfin. And by the way, I want to recognize a few people here, guys. I apologize. We do have some guests. Gerard Norwood's on. Gerard, good to see you, buddy. It's been many moons, long time. Grace Wang's on. By the way, so Gerard's also a Virginian. Grace is from Indiana. Let's see.
Marketing, corporate.
Gene's brand spanking new. Welcome, Gene, to the team. Christine Simonson's been on in the past, so welcome, Christine, tonight. Gregory Covington is also from the 757. So Dan, you and Greg should definitely connect. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
And then let's see. Did I miss anybody? Let me double check the next page here. 207. That's Maine, and I don't recognize the number. That's either going to be Dave Costello or Beth Bell, and the guys, I can't tell on Zoom because it doesn't say your name. So I think that's going to be Beth. Beth, either way, welcome aboard either way. So in any case, the question was from Michael and also from Sam is people are going to leave after 3 or 4 months, and that's true. So without giving you a lot of detail, one thing we're doing to sweeten the pot and make this a very robust profit machine is it's going to be by membership. So these professionals have to be a member of this organization. They're going to pay a flat annual fee, okay? And they're going to pay a small fee for every rental they do. And I guess I'll open up to get a little bit more and tell you we'll probably do the same thing with the owners too. So if we're going to provide the service, right, for the owners, we're going to obviously collect on that. So you got to see where we're going with this. So anybody starting to have some, like your hair's fluffing, you're seeing the, so Randy, isn't this awesome? And Gina, I see some smiles at Gregory. I'm telling you guys, it's not for traditional model. So there's a number of streams of revenue coming in, but the main thing is it's membership based. Okay. And there's lots of examples out there. Think of matchmaker services, like the dating websites, things like that. I've never been on them before. I heard they're pretty awesome. I don't know. Just, but in any case, same principle. We're matching people up. Now, are we going to be doing some marketing? You better believe it. But check this out. Airbnb, the way they market, they have to do a lot of heavy lifting. All right. because there's no one market segment that they're going after. They're trying to appeal to a lot of people who are going on vacation. All right. That means to spend a lot of money. We're going after professionals and business owners. And as you might imagine, there are professional associations for almost every walk of life. In fact, the Association of Associations in Washington, D.C. will tell you there's well over 2,200 associations just in the United States. Well, I know about that because one of my nieces used to work for the Association of Associations. My niece Chelsea, she was a master's in statistics, and she gave me an inside peek at all this stuff. So the good news is, with a little bit of money, I can pay to have access to all these associations, right? And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I can do the carpet bombing on a national scale. You guys can operate locally with a presence. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to be working at the national level, gaining access to these associations. We'll know exactly where those people are. We know if they have a state level association, a local level association. They all have associations, and that's going to be one of our main sources of client attraction on the renter side. And Dan can speak more about the hospital side of it and the nursing side of it because he knows that well. So Michael User, does that help you, give you a little more insight into how we're going to be operating this and bringing in the business? Okay, cool. Thanks, Michael. Any case, I was thinking there was something. Oh, let's see here. Let me look at the chat box because there was one I didn't get to early on. Michael, anything you need that I can help with? So guys, I would say right now, just stay tuned. I mean, we've got to map this out and we've got to do the beta tests. But the good news is those things are actually happening this week. So this is not like a down the road 10-year kind of thing. This is in the here and the now, and it couldn't be more timely. You will be marketing to corporate, correct? So corporate, so Michael will be marketing to corporate, but really through the associations. I can see us having at the local level contact with the corporation at the local level, but nationally, it's probably going to be more through the associations. I mean, literally promoting through them, maybe speaking at their annual events, things like that. So there's a number of ways we can get this up and running. In any case, I think that's it for the questions. Now, on the deal, the way wraparound mortgages work is this. The current owner already has and this is loosely termed, by the way, subject to. So the current owner has a mortgage that he or she has to keep paying. Dan's buying the property by giving the current owner a mortgage between Dan and the current owner that is bigger than the current owner's actual mortgage. And therefore the monthly payments are bigger than the current owner's monthly payments, okay? So Dan's going to be buying the property subject to the original mortgage with the current owner, and the current owner is going to receive a bigger mortgage payment, so he has cash flow over and above his current mortgage payment. So everybody okay so far on just that part of it? Okay. I mean, there's a lot more to subject to than just that. That's the basic wrap part, the wraparound mortgage part. And as you might imagine, at some point down the road, even if Dan didn't refinance it, the current mortgage will be paid off faster or sooner than Dan's new mortgage, right? So when it's all said and done, even if Dan never refinanced it, the current owner's mortgage will be paid off and long before Dan's would be. So then they would do a complete deed transfer at that point, and then Dan would then own the building, right? But Dan's going to refinance it. Now, in the interim, what does Dan do to protect himself? All right, because what are some of the risks? Can anybody see any risk in here when you buy a property subject to a current owner's mortgage? When you do a wrap mortgage, anybody see an inherent risk? And go ahead and guys speak up. I had coffee, so I'll keep talking if you let me. You know.
Don't pay your
Owner not
mortgage.
paying.
Yeah. So what do we do about that?
What did he say?
So the question is, Dan, is the risk to you is the current owner doesn't actually pay his mortgage. So what's going to happen? Who's actually going to pay the mortgage?
Right. What we're doing is we're actually putting all the funds in escrows. So that way it's managed by the attorney's office to show that this is being paid there, this is being paid here. Same thing with the taxes in his payment. he has taxes and insurance rolled into that.
Mhm.
So what I actually did was I actually assumed the amount of his payment, and then I'm escrowing on top of that payment the taxes and the insurance monies. So he can, well, not the insurance, but he can pull the see that the tax is there, and then that's paid off for the escrow account to the city, to the taxes. So
Okay.
it's
Who's-
checked and balanced through an escrow account.
So who's getting the benefit of the tax write-off?
Yeah.
The interest write-off.
Yeah, well, now that's something that it gets it gets a little gray, because technically he has a loan and I have a loan.
Right.
His is official. So one of the big things that can be an issue, and me, I'm not looking to do it as, I guess the real answer here would be I'm not going to be claiming anything as far as I'm taking any kind of benefit from it. I don't care, because my strategy is to get possession of the house. If I had to go through a bank, he would obviously be paid off, but I'd also have to have about $87,000 down. So I'm doing it because I can easily capture this property. One of the big downsides, and it's rare, and I'll knock on wood. I hope everybody heard it, but in some cases, banks, if they catch wind of, banks
call
really
it
don't care
undo.
for, banks don't really care for wraparound mortgages too much,
Yeah.
but it's done through investors all the time. A loan could actually be called.
Yes.
And at that point, the attorney that I use have done many deals, and in her experience, she's had it happen twice in decades. And what ended up happening in those situations is we ended up putting the property back to the original seller, and all monies were transferred and worked out. And then anyway, they found a different way to go ahead and do it anyway. But that's one of the risks that you have. And I was very happy to hear that I got a company that would do a 6-month refi.
Right. A couple of things, guys. And thanks, Dan, for sharing that. So Dan can and probably and will take the interest right off on his mortgage, right? Because it's his mortgage, he gets to take that interest. As far as the taxes and things like that go, property taxes go on the property, I've actually seen this done a couple ways. One way is the purchaser, in this case, it would be Dan, would actually be making the payments on the current mortgage. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Actually be making the payments. That's how he knows he'll get paid. And the current owner essentially going to be paid off, so he loses the benefits of the tax write-off. So Dan would actually take that benefit on his tax returns if he did it that way. Now, just like anything else, everything is negotiable. I mean, you can as long as you can document that what you paid was for taxes, you can take the tax write-off. If you want to prevent the bank from calling in the note, this is another subject here related to the last conversation. What you can do is when you go to the closing table, you actually sell the property into a trust, into the trust, okay? You sell so the property doesn't go into Dan's name, the property goes in a trust, right? You call it.
That's actually how we're doing it.
Yeah.
I'm buying it, it's being placed in a trust, and the beneficiary is my LLC.
Yep. And what happens when you put a property in a trust, there's language in the IRS code that says, going back to the 1980 Tax Reform Act in 1986, actually gave the banks the right to call in a note, except one case. And that one case is if the mortgage, a note, is inside of a trust, then they can't call it in. So that's one reason why we like to use land trusts when we do these types of deals. I like land trusts for other reasons too, but that's one of the reasons why. So it really gives more protection to the buyer, to the purchaser, and the seller still gets to sell the property. They still get the seller's intention is to sell the property for profit, and not they know they're not going to have the rights of writing off taxes and insurance and things like that. So if the buyer takes those over, you run the risk of triggering the bank to do calling in the note. But when the property's in a trust, they can't do that, Now somebody brought up the fact that in Michigan has a law that says you can't do a wrap mortgage when there's an existing mortgage on the property. So in that case, I don't know the answer, but I'm wondering if they sold the property into the trust, would that take care of that issue? You know, we'd have to, that's a question for a Michigan attorney, but the fact is typically the pecking order is federal law, then state law, then local law. Local law can't override state law, and state law can't override federal law. So that's the extent of my knowledge of that. I'm just saying I don't know the answer, but I'm thinking if you put in a trust, that may solve the issue, you know, in Michigan. So in any case, let me check that. Yeah, any other comments on that, guys, or questions? Okay, let's see. This is Ali. Hi, Alexander. Good to see you. When you make the payments into escrow, does the seller get any of it before the title is transferred? So what you're saying that everything's going into escrow, all the monthly payments. So because your payment to the owner is bigger than his payment to the bank, on a monthly basis, does the current owner get to receive that difference? And I think that he does in this situation.
Yeah, he'll be flowing through the situation as well. So it's win-win, how it's all put together with the attorneys, and it's a win-win for everybody in this situation. And I think it's just great. You can literally buy a house from someone that has a mortgage on it and not use a bank and not use all the traditional ways of doing things. It's a great way to acquire your portfolio.
I've been doing this for a couple of years with some of my landlords, where they wanted to sell, but they wanted to get out of the landlord business. We set it where they could do a subject to wrap around, and they actually make an agreement with the tenant, which becomes the owner. But the landlord still owns the property, but don't have no responsibilities to the property. And if the guy doesn't pay his rent, then he has the opportunity. Then he has the opportunity to take the property back and do it all over again.
Yeah, I'm doing some of those too, Gary, as far as master leases, and I'm working on those, and I got some that are cooking in the oven right now too. Master leases are a very good way to do things as well. I just really like thinking that, you can make profit off of something that you don't even own. So I think that's just that's America. That's all I can say. So that's good. The subject to, and what I want to do in my master leases, if anybody else is doing master leases, is I'm putting in a first right of refusal clause in there, so that if they do ever decide to sell, they got to at least ask me, because if I've been making them money for all these months, I would hope that they would want to work a deal with me. And then at that point, you open it wide open. You don't even have to go buy it. You can talk to them about this whole wraparound type of scenario as well. So, you kind of it's like dominoes. You just keep playing them, and it just kind of works into its place.
Yeah. I know a lot of Airbnb operators that have sprung up a lot in the last 10 years. They don't actually own the properties. They're just providing the services. So you can either provide it to the owner as a service, like a vendor does, like a property management company, or they're acting as the investor and property manager, but they don't own the property. They actually lease it out through a master lease. And I think it's very creative, and I always appreciate creativity. But guys, I just want to tell you, just like wholesaling looks good on paper because you don't have to have cash or credit, and you can start at any time. But I'm telling you, there's two ways to make it big in real estate. And one is to accumulate wealth, and one is to generate revenue, recurring, ongoing revenue. So the reason I like owning properties is they build wealth over time. And if you do a strategy like this, they have recurring income over time. So when you look at wholesaling, do you ever actually accumulate wealth through ownership and wholesaling?
Nope.
Not at all. You never own a thing, right? And do you generate recurring income from that property? No, you get paid once. You shoot the goose that's laying the golden egg one time, and you don't even have ownership. So it's like you're working. It's a job. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work. I've done it. But at the end of the day, when I did the math on it, I finally got wise and thought, I'm not going to wholesale anymore. That's, they get you hooked on that because you, in the beginning, maybe you don't have cash or credit. So if that's the case, set a goal to wholesale for maybe 3 deals, and then move into getting your own properties. However you got to do it, wrap around mortgage, save up your 20%, or better yet, use your license as a certified investor agent on the Global Investor Agent Team, generate additional commissions that you can use to buy your own properties. That's why the whole thing was designed all those years ago. Win Realty Advisors was simply there to bridge the gap between agent and investor, right? And help the agents invest themselves and help the investors have somebody they can rely on. So if you really want to be in control of your life and your business and your income, having a license is one of the cheapest things you can do. It's like a franchise that you don't have to spend $50,000 on. A couple $100, you get a real estate license. Then you can use it to generate additional cash flow, right? And you get protection by E&O insurance. I mean, there's so many benefits over wholesale. I'm not here to knock wholesaling. I'm just telling you, I know a lot of people ask about it and a lot of people want to do it, but I'm telling you, it's not the end game. It may be a short-term fix to a temporary problem, but if that's the case, just use your license, work with owner occupants and investors. It's an and equation. Participate in programs like this, help your investors find these properties, link them up with the lenders, right? Private lenders. You all have access to the private lenders through our lead gen system. And you earn commissions, right? So you can then buy your own properties, right? I got off on a tangent there, but the whole thing about leasing and master leasing, it has its place, right? All these strategies have their place. But at the end of the day, my goal for you is to get you on a cash basis as quickly as we possibly can, right? Any case, I feel like that was my preaching moment for tonight. I know I might have just burst a few bubbles, but I'm just being realistic with you. I mean, if you think about it, it's true, isn't it?
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the way to wealth is assets. I mean, so
Yes. Yes.
Income producing assets. You solve both things in one
Yes.
move. You own it and you generate cash flow from it. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't mean it's easy. I know this looks like blonde hair, but that's actually gray. It's all gray. Look at Greg. I'm just kidding.
yeah, Dan too.
Look at
Yeah,
Dan.
look at him. Dan cut his off. He's smart.
Yeah, well, my kids took it all. That's what it was.
Yeah. So I wish I could tell you there's the only rich quick thing that I know of is winning the lottery, and that's not a good game plan. So the real world is you've got to roll up your sleeves, put on your work boots, and just look at current events, think about the facts and what's happening in the world, and what problems does that present, and how can you help solve the problems? This is a perfect example, and I'm not a genius at this. I can promise you that. I probably have a lot of experience practicing this, understanding what's happening and what does that mean? What challenges does that provide, and how can you be part of the solution? And this is exactly what that is. I knew from the last recession, the first 3 recessions I was in going back to 1980, 87, I didn't know what I was doing. I just was a deer in the headlights waiting to see. And of course, I was just kind of like going along for the ride. And then the fourth one was the one around 2007 through 11. I did know what to do. And I learned a valuable lesson. The wealth in the world did not go down in that recession. See, most people think in a recession, everything goes down. And yes, transaction volume drops. Prices of houses drop. Jobs, there's fewer jobs. All those things are true. But the amount of wealth in the world does not go down. It just changes hands. That's all it does. Then it goes from this hand to the other hand, from Bob's hand to Jane's hand. That's all it does. It doesn't go away. It just goes from one hand to the other. And your purpose as a broker, as an agent, is to be part of that transaction, the movement of the migration of the money. You know, somebody's going to sell and somebody's going to buy. That's exactly what we do. With investors, it's going to be a lot more prolific coming down the road here. And I don't know if it's going to be next month or next year, but the numbers are there and the numbers don't lie. The numbers tell the truth. It's a mathematical certainty, you know. So the key is to prepare now, you know, doing just stuff just like this, you know.
And
Okay.
there's a lot. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. I want to hear from like Vince Curtin and Shirley and Randy and Christine. They've been quiet. Kai's been quiet as a mouse, and Jeff Allen's been on board. And Jeff, I love your background. It looks like a snowy day out in central Pennsylvania there. But see, so on the team, you'll have to get used to getting sand between your toes. You
Hey,
know?
Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah, that sounds a lot better than snow.
Hello?
Is that Gerard?
Oh, it works. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hey, Gary. I just had a question about wholesaling.
Yep.
Is there any way that I can use the MLS for the cash buyers instead of having my own private list?
Hey, hang on, there's a lot of echoing here, and I'm not sure. Everybody seems to be muted. You know what, Gerard, are you using speakers outside your laptop?
How's that?
Oh, much better. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Is there any way that I can use my MLS for wholesaling to find cash buyers versus my own private list?
Yeah, you can use your MLS just like any other source of business, source of property. The challenge with the MLS is once something goes on the MLS, the entire world knows about it, not just locally in, you know, Tidewater or up in Richmond, but the entire world, because once it goes in MLS, it gets propagated through all those reciprocal agreements. So it creates competition. The best way to go about what you want to do is, I think from what I remember you and I spoke a few months ago, is to use a tool like what we use, the one I bought for the team, which gives you access to every single parcel in the entire country, not just in Richmond, but I mean every parcel. It doesn't matter if it's an outhouse or a mansion. Every single parcel, you get to see what their loan situation is, what their equity situation is, how long they've owned it, and that's how you find your source. Now, if you want to find the cash buyers, you can also find out on the same tool who paid cash for the properties. That's documented. It's in the recordings. What you don't have to have the MLS for that. You can look at your county property recordings to see if the person paid cash for it. We just have a tool that gives us at our fingertips access at a moment's notice. We don't have to go scrounging through all the county databases like we used to. So Gerard, I would definitely encourage you to, you can use the MLS, but it's only going to be maybe 1% effective, especially in a market like today. It's just not going to be that effective. Normal times be a little bit easier, but there's so much more data out there that's available now that you can participate in. I mean, just set up a call with them. I don't know if you still have my link, but set up a call with them. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You know, I mean, we're past our 1 hour time slot here, but just give me Gerard, you still have my number and all that?
Is it 412?
That's it, yeah.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, just here, I'll put it in the chat box. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Let's see. Host and panelists, everybody. Everyone, let me click everyone.
Can you hear me still, Gary?
Sure can, yeah.
Oh, okay, then my microphone's working. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's much better. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay.
All right, let me get you my scheduling link. Hang on 1 second.
All right.
I'll put this right in the chat box.
My dog is driving me crazy.
Set up strategy call.
The G.
Okay, here we go. I'll plug this in. That way you can, everybody, if you don't have it for the guests, you can just grab it here. Hang on 1 second. Let me get that copied. and chat. And there's my scheduling link. So, okay, let's see. Hey guys, any other questions while you got Dan? Remember, he's level 6, he's partner level. And I mean, he's got a varied background. It's not just all in real estate investing. He's, been in respiratory therapy business, as a commercial cleaning business, is an agent and an investor. And the reason that's important, by the way, is I always tell people, if you have an existing business that can be used in the world of real estate, keep it and grow it. There's a guy named Terry Rogney I'll have on here eventually. And he was a painter when I met him, and I helped him learn how to flip homes first, and I helped him how to buy rentals. Now he's retired, but he still runs his painting business. He doesn't paint anymore. He runs the painting business. I showed him how to set it up as a business. And by the way, he only has the complete use of one hand. Imagine that, being a painter when you only got complete use of one hand. How did that guy climb up ladders and carry buckets of paint, stuff like that? And, well, he's one of the nicest guys you ever meet. And I couldn't be a better guy to deserve what he's done. He's just bought a place down in Naples, Florida. So I think he's younger than I am. So in any case, if you got an existing business, keep it. If it's related to real estate, we'll help you use it and make it bigger, So.
And if anything, you can always build business credit lines and use that to help further the real estate transaction.
Absolutely. Every business, you can borrow against it, like a business line of credit. Use that to fund your LLC that buys properties. And by the way, when you build up equity in your properties through your LLC, borrow against those to go out and buy another franchise, another commercial cleaning franchise, right?
Yeah.
So,
if you own, you got your own home too. I was always trying to get I had it worked out with a bank that I was going to have a couple of my rental properties paid off, and they were going to actually give me a line of credit based on 75% of all the equity of all the homes that are paid off. They stopped that program with the pandemic and everything, and a lot of places are slowly coming back to it. But I had bought my house just 3 years ago, and I thought about a HELOC on it, but I didn't have any equity. But this year, my house is worth about $97,000 more than it was 3 years ago. So that's just another thing I'm doing, is I'm getting a HELOC to do more deals. So that's something that if you might not know the equity that you have in your home, that's investment money right there. HELOC at 3 or 4%. You can't beat that money.
And your other properties. I did the same thing. I did a blanket mortgage, not a wrap mortgage, a blanket mortgage on my existing portfolio.
Yep.
On the equity. The lender didn't make me refinance everything. He let me pull out the equity in a second position on a business line of credit,
Yep.
that was a big tipping point for me all those years ago. It was, from that point on, I knew I was financially free. I mean, my properties were going to feed itself and feed me too. And eventually it fed a lot of attorneys, but that's another story. It's funny the things you can laugh at now. I used to cry earlier. Now I can laugh about these things, but in any case, hey guys, I think that's probably about it. It's 8:08. I'm going to take some dogs for a walk and hopefully come back and get some ice cream. But
hey, Gary, I got a quick question. This is Bonetta. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Is everybody planning on going to the EXP Con?
I am.
Or anybody?
Yeah. I know Lisa Sears is going. I'm going. Everybody should go. I mean, you can't believe the amount of information and tips and pointers you pick up just from going to things like that. And you're going to be meeting the top of the top, the best of the best. And, Liz will be there. I think I've spoken to probably 4 people just in the last week's one-on-ones that are going. I highly recommend it. I'm not a gambler. I don't really care so much about Vegas itself, but I do care about networking and meeting people and getting good, clean, fresh ideas,
All right. Thank you much.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody, you have a wonderful night, a great rest of the week. And for the gig leaders, I'll see you Wednesday night. For everyone else, we'll see you next Monday night. Oh, we got Michael Sjogren's coming on. He's he's a Bostonian originally, and he's going to talk about, oddly enough, Airbnb. That's next Monday night. So log into that one, pick up some information on that, and he'll give you the goods on Airbnb. Okay, guys?
All right.
Good
Hey, God
night.
bless you and your families, and we'll see you next week.
Enjoy your ice cream.
You know I will.
Good night to everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
And thanks for
Go
joining,
out.
Christine and Greg and
Bye.
everybody. We appreciate that. And Gerard. Okay, bye, guys.